Well, good morning, Rovers. It's Saturday morning, just a little after sunrise, and we got the word late last night that the hens are on their way. We have about 48 hours to finish the hen house. I mean, that's pretty tight. And I have to get the fence up and make waters and feeders. I don't think it's all gonna happen in time, but at the very least, I've got to get the house built so that they're secure from any predation. So, a lot to do. Time to crack on.
First order of business is to lay out those floor joists. So I'm using 8-foot long 2x6s. Now the 2x6s, you'll want to keep 2 of them at 8 feet long, and those are your header joists. The rest of them you have to cut back to 7 foot 9 inches so that when they are supported by the header joists, they'll add up to 8 feet, because we want the base of our house to be 8 feet by 8 feet. This will all make sense as you see it constructed. Now you may have noticed that I have cut one of the joists to 7 foot 9 inches already, and I'm using it as a template to mark all the other joists. That way it ensures that all the joists are the same length. Now that you've marked all those common joists, it's time to cut them. Now you can use any tool you want for this, from a handsaw to the chop saw. I prefer the chop saw. The reason I'm cutting them back to 7 foot 9 is because 1.5 inches and 1.5 inches is added to each common joist because of the header joist. Now take out your tape measure and make marks every 2 feet. Actually, you'll want to make it 2 feet minus 3/4 of an inch. That way, when you put the joist up onto the header joist, it will be centered at 2 feet. Now take out your square and make nice straight clear lines for your joists to line up on. Now I always make that line with an X on one side. The X is to be covered by the joist itself. So this is what we have now. We have a nice straight line with an X on it, and the joist, the common joist that is, will cover that up. And as soon as we line all of those up, we'll nail them. Well, here I'm using a nair nailer with 3 1/4 inch spikes. Now you don't have to use one, you can use a hammer and nails, it'll be just as effective. The one thing is, you will have to hold and adjust the joist because wood is never 100% true. So we're looking at the floor system. I'm about to put the 1x4s and a 1x6 down, but what we have right now is hardware cloth, 1/2 inch by 1/2 inch hardware cloth, and that's to keep any weasels or foxes or raccoons from clawing their way in. The structure itself has been leveled. It's 8 feet by 8 feet. The joists are 2 foot on center, and these are 4x4 juniper, what they call juniper, which in fact is a rot-resistant wood, and it's generally known as larch outside of Prince Edward Island. And we have the concrete blocks as we saw in the previous video. All right, time to get on with it. Now, galvanized hardware cloth is great for ventilation and allowing the hen droppings to pass right through to the ground. But we couldn't possibly ask them to stand on it. That would just be too hard on their feet. So in fact, I'm cutting 1x4s and 1x6s to create a floor. Now this floor will be totally replaceable over time. So what I'm going to do here is, I'm just trying to arrange these boards so that they're equally spaced between the first one and the last one. And that's looking pretty good. The hens aren't going to mind one bit. Okay, good. Now I'll put one nail in each one. I'll come down to this end, and I'll do the same thing.
now we just have the center portion to do. And we have a bit of a bow, so we will fix it. Yes, right there. This is the area where the hens will be roosting. They'll be above here, so we want the hens' droppings at night to fall down and get between here, and then occasionally we'll come in with a hose and we'll wash the whole thing down, and everything will fall underneath. All right, crack on with the next bit.
So now we're looking at the completed floor system. The floor itself is resting on 4x4 juniper beams, which in turn are resting on concrete blocks. Now it's time to build those walls and trusses. So I've basically drawn out the entire wall truss system on the floor itself. Then I've cut some templates and pieced them together to make sure that the fit is right. Once I'm happy with that, then I'll take them over and cut all the wall/truss members that I need to complete the project. Okay, so I have all these little bits of ply. I've cut them down so that they're at least 2 parallel sides, 8 inches apart, and hopefully at least a foot long. I mean, some of them are pretty odd shapes, although I have ripped that down. And what I need to do is I need to create a shape that looks somewhat like this, that I'll be using to make gussets for the trusses that I'm building for the hen house. Anyway, we don't have to worry too much about pretty because it's just the hens that'll be looking at this inside. Plywood is unbelievably expensive and hard to get. All these scraps came from a friend of mine who's building a boat, and he kindly donated his offcuts, which I appreciate greatly at this point. Okay, so here's some of the scrap plywood we have. I'm laying over my template, and then I'm just going to draw the lines, and then I will start cutting. And then it's 22.5 degrees. The saw has a lock at that point, and just line it up. And then head over to the other side, 22.5 degrees. Keep your fingers out of the red zone. That's it. There is our shape, the very same as the template. And we need 16 of these to complete the project. Time to crack on. Now, with Mrs. Rover's help, I'm going to assemble these combined wall trusses. the finished trusses. Now let's get those installed. Well, there we go. In no time flat, with Mrs. Rover's help, I have them braced and plumbed. Now, in preparation for the steel roof and siding, I have to install strapping both on the walls and the roof.
Well, Rovers, we made pretty good progress today, but we did get another phone call saying we have a reprieve of 24 hours, meaning that we still have 48 hours before the hens arrive. It's still a tall order, but I think we just might get there. All right, thanks for watching.
So join us in the next episode where I finish the framing and we start installing the steel. Now, if you like what you see, please subscribe. And the best way you can help me is by sharing this content on your social media.